Now in 4 News Now at 6, the push to ban camping near schools and daycares in Spokane. Why police say it would be difficult to enforce if voters approve the measure.
I'm tracking our next big round of rain making its way into our area. I'll help you plan your weekend around the wet weather in your First Alert forecast.
And the waiting period for low-income housing hasn't changed in over a year. We'll explain some of the issues amplifying our housing crisis. You're watching 4 News Now at 6.
We're just 4 days away from Election Day. Voters will have a say on Proposition 1, which will ask whether they'd like to ban camping near schools, parks, or playgrounds in Spokane. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Derek Dice.
And I'm Kirsten O'Connor. We did ask police about enforcing this if it passes, and they say they can't actually respond to calls like this as often as they'd like. Bronte Sorotsky tells us why.
Despite challenges to keep it on the ballot, Spokane voters will have a chance to vote on Proposition 1 this upcoming election day. But Spokane police say you might not notice immediate changes if it passes.
There may be times where officers are really busy and it's going to be sitting in the queue for a longer period of time.
If Proposition 1 passes, officers will be able to enforce it. But those calls about camps will be added to the same queue as all other crime in Spokane, which is already up from last year.
So we're getting more calls, we're responding to more calls.
Calls for help are already up by 11% compared to last year, and last year they were up by 12%. Officers are busy.
There's going to be some choices to be made. Either right now, for example, we know we have over 200 homeless camping complaints in the queue, and it fluctuates, right? It's 200 to 300. It can sometimes be much higher than that.
When calls about homeless encampments come in right now, officers have to prioritize. They look at factors like how long ago a complaint was filed, how large the encampment is, and how much damage it's caused.
So there's only so many hours in a day they can work. So it may be some of those complaints are going to have to be waiting in the queue a little bit longer because we just don't have the staffing to respond to them as quickly as we would like.
Amid all of this, the police department is over budget and short-staffed, in need of at least a dozen new officers just to be fully staffed.
It comes down to the amount of money this city has available to hire staff versus the demands from the community that would require more staff.
Police say until they can hire more people, you'll have to wait longer for law enforcement to respond to these calls. Reporting in Spokane, Bronte Sorotsky, 4 News Now.
Well, Prop 1 is just one of the controversial ordinances on the ballot in Spokane County. The other is Measure 1, a proposed sales tax increase that would help fund a new jail along with other criminal justice projects. If approved, the sales tax would increase by 0.2%. That's 2 cents for every $10 spent. To learn why supporters say this money is necessary and why critics call this a blank check for a broken system, look for my ballot breakdown story on KXLY.com/forthepeople.
The constant lane closures on the Maple Street Bridge are now over. The bridge is now fully reopened with crews finishing replacing the top layer of the concrete late last night. And Derek, I know that you are a good dog owner who walks your dogs every day. I, in fact, leave that responsibility to my husband, but I bet they're going to need that break in the rain.
It was actually really nice taking them for a walk this morning. We're going to send it over to Chief Meteorologist Chris Crocker with the First Alert forecast to see how long rain might be sticking around.
Oh, well, you can zip out this evening and walk those dogs. Here's a live look over the Spokane Veterans Memorial Arena right now, and what a beautiful sky. We do have some mid-level clouds starting to drift through, making for an interesting sunset. Those are going to increase tonight. But you have time to walk the dog for the next few hours. Here's a look at your evening planner. 43 degrees at 7 o'clock. We'll still be in the 40s at 9. Then a slight chance of rain showing up around 11. A much better chance as we get into the overnight. But right now we're just seeing the clouds on our satellite and radar. It is very, very quiet. Those clouds, again, will be increasing later this evening, and our odds of wet weather jump just after midnight. from a few sprinkles to steady rain, and that is going to continue through tomorrow morning. Good morning to stay in bed and watch cartoons. We have some breaks coming later in the day. Now, here's a look at your Saturday planner, and this it may be a little more ominous than what will pan out. I'm starting to see some hints of drier conditions the second half of the day. I'm going to take you through hour by hour on our computer model forecast in just a few minutes, Derek.
All right, Chris, thank you. A man is now behind bars tonight after police say he commandeered a piece of heavy equipment in East Spokane.
Can you just stop the vehicle and talk to me some more?
Never too late to do the right thing, officer. You realize you're on camera, right?
You're under arrest.
Right, you're on camera.
You're under arrest.
You got it.
Wow. Police say the man inside that rubber-tracked crawler was Matthew Cook. They say employees at a machinery business called after he refused to leave. They say he then climbed into that vehicle and drove over a fence. One officer jumped onto the crawler, as you saw, and yanked him down. He now faces charges including burglary and vehicle theft.
Well, a traffic alert in North Spokane. Part of Country Homes Boulevard is back open after an underground spring broke, flooding the street, closing it off to some drivers heading south. The road will fully close Monday and Tuesday between Wall and Jefferson as crews install an underground pipe to drain all of that water.
Well, tomorrow the funeral service will be held for Post Falls police officer Nicholas McDaniel, who died of a heart attack while on duty last month. The Coeur d'Alene Police Department says the service is not open to the public, but you can stream it online if you'd like to watch. While the funeral and gravesite services are closed, police say if residents want to show their support, they're invited to gather safely along the procession route. For more information about the parade route and the link to watch the funeral, you can look for this story on KXLY.com.
Well, 3 passengers are suing Alaska Airlines, saying they suffered emotional distress when an off-duty pilot allegedly tried to cut power to the engine mid-flight. You may remember this story. The lawsuit claims the airline and its operator, Horizon Airlines, did not properly evaluate Joseph Emerson before he was seated in the jump seat of a cockpit. It also claims when the engines were tampered with, the plane dramatically pitched forward as if it were in a nosedive. And if the airline had been more vigilant, Emerson wouldn't have been in a position to, quote, nearly kill everyone aboard. Alaska Airlines previously said the crew saw nothing that would have prevented them from letting Emerson fly. A Spokane Valley mobile home park has warned its residents of a PFAS, or forever chemicals, contamination in its water well.
Yeah, Marissa Rio is at that mobile home park and shares the fears residents have about living without clean water.
Residents here at Pinecroft Mobile Home Park received this notice that there was PFAS in their water. Now, this letter says it was tested back in June. That means it's been contaminated for months and residents had no idea.
This is water coming from a faucet outside of one of the mobile homes. This is the same water that resident has to bathe in and brush her teeth with. Another resident says this is an ongoing issue.
We have a lot of water problems, especially with me. When I do my dishes and do laundry, it smells like a wet dog, really bad. And it just stinks to high heaven.
Residents are advised to not drink or cook with the water. Geist White is a cancer survivor, so she fears for her health.
My mom, she's concerned about it now too. And so she says, well, you can't live on bottled water the rest of your life.
That's because one of the notices advised residents to buy water bottles or a carbon filter, an expense many can't afford.
My husband's been out of work, and so I just get an SSI, and that's it. And so we got bills to pay.
And people here say property management is of little to no help at all.
And so far we haven't seen anything. I haven't even received a call. I leave long detailed messages, please call me in regard to this, and they don't. And when I finally got a human being, he was absolutely rude.
Property management says,
we are currently working with the city as well as Northwest Waters, and we're working together to get bids gathered to hook up to the city and or a different treatment plan.
As of now, there is no current timeline of when it will be fixed. Reporting in Spokane Valley, Marissa Rio, 4 News Now.
Well, still ahead, high school students in New Jersey accused of sharing AI-generated nude photos of their classmates.
Yeah, what's being done to prevent these types of photos from being created in the first place?
Under a new law in 2022, voting rights for all former Washington prisoners are restored automatically, while local organizations say voting rights matters for people with criminal records.
Connect with 4 News Now on KXLY+.
Save your dreams!
Les Miserables, still the world's most popular musical. Experience the breathtaking production that leaves both audiences and critics awestruck. Les Miserables.
November 14th through 19th at First Interstate Center for the Arts. Tickets available at BroadwaySpokane.com.
We've collected thousands of warm winter coats for this year's Coats for Kids campaign. The coats have now been cleaned thanks to Alsco. If you know a child in need of a warm winter coat, go to KXLY.com/Coats for Kids to find a distribution location near you.
As the cold days are upon us, we would like to give a special thank you to Chaz for sponsoring Coats for Kids this year. Their dedication to this community will help to keep thousands of kids warm this winter.
When I speak to families across Spokane, it's clear we want the same things. Our family to be safe, affordable housing, economic opportunities, and good jobs for our children and grandchildren. We want our streets fixed, our river protected, and a compassionate, effective response to homelessness. Families from Indian Trail to Lincoln Heights are ready for us to pull together and build a better Spokane. It feels pretty divided in Spokane right now, but bridges bring us together, and when I'm mayor, we'll build some new ones. I'm Lisa Brown. I approve this message.
Rugged, capable off-road travel, adept at towing heavy loads, the completely redesigned Nissan Pathfinder has all the features buyers are looking for in a full-size SUV. Check these features: seating up to 8 with easy access third row, cabin noise reduction, super smooth 9-speed transmission, towing up to 6,000 pounds with 284 horsepower, classy upscale design, and two-tone style. There's lots more with this Pathfinder. Find out at Coeur d'Alene Nissan, just off Highway 95.
All right, welcome back. Some local organizations want all former Washington prisoners to cast their ballots next week. Thanks to a new law that took effect last year, their voting rights are automatically restored.
Peter Choi spoke with a former prisoner about why voting rights matter for members of this community with criminal records.
Yeah, Kirsten, Curtis Robinson felt relieved and hopeful when he heard about this new law. Tonight, Robinson says there's still more work ahead to increase the voter education for former prisoners.
God, I will never belong to this community ever again.
It has been more than 30 years. Curtis Robinson still remembers the time when he was in prison.
3 years inside, and this was for a strong-arm robbery that I committed while I was gunshot wounded and crack cocaine addicted.
Robinson says voting rights is part of the healing process for those who want to reconnect to society.
When you look at the successful reentry back into society of our justice-involved populations, that is one of the critical key foundational components that needs to be there, is that social connection, that social engagement.
Under the 2022 law, people who are convicted of a felony will have their right to vote restored automatically. More than 26,000 people gained their rights back this way. Kelly Olson with the Washington Voting Rights Restoration Coalition says it was a joint effort to pass the law.
Just letting people know that their vote counts and that this is one of the ways to have their voices heard, and how important it is to get involved in the process.
Curtis, what does voting mean to you?
Voting means to me as a justice-involved individual is that I have the ability now, and our people have the ability, to have a meaningful voice in how that change needs to happen.
Robinson says education for the voting rights needs to continue.
We are human beings. Know it, believe it, act on it, exercise your right to vote, because your vote does matter.
Now, there is still time left to register to vote for those who left prison in their rearview mirrors. You can find more information on our website, kxly.com. In studio tonight, Peter Choi, 4 News Now.
Heading out to a Friday night football game, you should stay dry throughout the football game. We'll see temperatures cooling down into the 30s by 10 o'clock, and that's about the time we'll start to see a few sprinkles develop around the region. I will let you know how much longer the rain will last coming up in your 7-day forecast.
Download the KXLY Plus app for weather every 10 minutes.
4 News Now is brought to you by Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the musical.
Arby's, 2 for $7 every day. The big beefy boy that started it all. 2 of those things for just $7. Arby's, we have the meat.
Friends and neighbors call me the squeaky wheel because when something needs attention, I make noise. On my neighborhood council, as a public school parent, or in City Hall. So when our community isn't getting the attention it deserves, I run for City Council. Because Northeast Spokane needs a squeaky wheel. For our community, for small businesses, for families like mine.
I'm Lindsay Shaw, running for City Council District 1 to be your squeaky wheel.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
It's Broadway's #1 holiday hit musical, Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the musical. November 10th and 11th, First Interstate Center for the Arts. On sale now.
Spokane's homeless plan is not working. In the last 6 years, Spokane's homeless rate has nearly doubled, while the U.S. rate barely increased. And while many unhoused persons genuinely need a helping hand, others have accelerated Spokane's problems of crime and open drug use. Similar-sized U.S. cities don't have these problems, but Spokane became home to the largest homeless camp in the state of Washington. Why Spokane? Hear the answer at curingspokane.com.
Arby's, 2 for $7 every day. A classic, a favorite, an Arby's legend. 2 of those things for just $7. Arby's, we have the meat.
Britney Spears' high school boyfriend exclusive. Next, Inside Edition. They went to prom together. Now he's speaking out. What he's saying about her life today. And that sensational new book. Then, how young is too young to ride an e-bike? Can you believe some are designed for kids as young as 4? Watch the next Inside Edition.
Watch 4 News Now at 6 and Inside Edition at 7.
Ooh, what a pretty night to be outside.
Yeah, and still dry, which is the nice thing. That rain's not supposed to fire up for at least a little while longer. We're going to send it over to Chief Meteorologist Chris Crocker now and look at that weekend forecast.
It looks like we've got some monster truck fans pouring into the Spokane Arena parking lot. Like, take your ear protection. We can hear that and feel the ground rumble from here. But I think you're going to make it back to your car in dry shape. Tomorrow morning is another story. 4 things to know about your weather. Rain is going to develop around midnight. You may encounter a sprinkle or 2 before then. Steady rain Saturday, mainly the first part of the day. Possible thunderstorms in the afternoon, and then a few showers Sunday. Sunday, by far the drier of the 2 weekend days. Now, I've gotten an updated computer model just since 5 o'clock. The news is still good for Cougars. The news has gotten worse for Eagles. Let's take a look at our forecast radar at 7 a.m. It's rain for everyone. I don't care what animal you are. Let's go through the morning and rain, rain, rain. 1 o'clock, they're kicking off in Cheney, and the model has slowed the drying of that rain. Steady rain throughout the region. This is our rapid refresh model that updates every hour. 1 o'clock, then we begin drying out. Here's 6 p.m. and the Cougars are kicking off in Pullman, and it wants to dry things out, keeping the rain in the central panhandle and down through the LC Valley. Then we dry off a little more meaningfully, just hit and miss showers through early Sunday morning. Here's 7 a.m. We'll be socked in with the fog after all of that rain. And then as we go through the day, I think we may actually see a little bit of sunshine. By 6 o'clock, the next round of wet weather starts moving in. So we may see those showers as we get into Sunday evening. Here's our chance of precipitation. 100% tomorrow. 30 on Sunday, and again, most of that coming in the evening, maybe a hit or miss shower earlier in the day. But then we're back to the steady rains on Monday into Tuesday before we start a drying trend on Wednesday that takes us through next weekend. So there's some dry weather if you still have some family pictures to take, for example. Forecast rain through 5 o'clock Saturday. Some impressive rainfall totals around the region. This is another good soaking rain. Another, if my roof leaks, I need to put a pan in place type of rain. And then as we get into Sunday, it's just little hundredths of an inch here and there through 5 o'clock. So much, much drier Sunday than Saturday. We are going to see our overnight lows just after midnight. This is a slug of moisture is coming along with a warm front. So these temperatures will bottom out and then start to warm. We're going to be above average tomorrow despite the rain, in the 50s in most locations. Staying in the 50s for Sunday, you get an extra hour of the drier 2 weekend days, and then even drier weather as we head into the end of next week with some colder temperatures in the mornings. Derek?
All right, Chris, thank you so much. And as Chris has been reminding us, we will be switching back to standard time this weekend.
Other than getting that extra hour of sleep, there are a few added health benefits as well. To see why experts say standard time is better for your overall health, look for this story on KXLY.com. Still ahead, chocolate milk may be going away for some students in Central Valley. We'll explain coming up.
Download the KXLY Plus app for breaking news.
You've been hearing about it, and now we've got it at Post Falls Volkswagen, the ID4 electric SUV. This SUV has a space, warranty, technology that buyers want at a price that's competitive. The ID4 was engineered to win the hearts of SUV owners ready to go electric. With a quick charge and an EPA estimated range of 260 miles.
The Volkswagen ID4, now eligible for a $7,500 lease credit.
The ID4 electric SUV, see it at Post Falls Volkswagen.
Experience the breathtaking production that leaves both audiences and critics awestruck. Les Miserables.
November 14th through 19th at First Interstate Center for the Arts. Tickets available at BroadwaySpokane.com.
Honey, that was my brother. Can we bring him dinner tomorrow? He's been having a hard time since his accident.
Of course. I know it's been tough. There's so many costs that his insurance doesn't even cover.
I know. The ramp to his front door, transportation, meal preparation. What if something happens to one of us?
We should plan to sit down soon. We can look through the long-term care benefits that we're earning with WA Cares.
Find out how the WA Cares Fund can help.
Look who's waking up with GMA next week. The Queen of Christmas, Mariah Carey, Megan Fox.
Good morning, America.
Luke Bryan.
Good morning, America.
And Peyton Manning kicking off the CMAs. All next week on
GMA.
Good morning, America.
Nadine Woodward's extreme partisanship is wrong for Spokane. Instead of helping local wildfire victims, Woodward attended a recent Christian nationalist rally with domestic terrorist and disgraced radical Republican Matt Shea, even receiving his endorsement. Faith leaders and the city council denounced Shea's bigotry, calls for violence, and radical nationalism. But Nadine Woodward, she lied about knowing he would be there. She was hoping no one would notice her radical politics. We noticed Mayor Woodward, and we deserve better.
Connect with 4 News Now on KXLY+.
Around the nation, President Biden and the First Lady visited first responders and victims from the mass shooting in Lewiston, Maine.
The president addressing gun violence in this country as funerals for the victims begin and as we learn more about this suspect's mental health history. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest.
President Biden and First Lady Dr. Jill Biden once again visiting a community rattled by a mass shooting, meeting with first responders and victims' families in Lewiston, Maine.
Jill and I are here, though, on behalf of the American people, to grieve with you and to make sure you know that you're not alone.
People there are still reeling after 18 were killed and 13 others injured when authorities say Army reservist Robert Card opened fire at a bowling alley and nearby restaurant last week. Meanwhile, the first of the victims are being laid to rest today, including Trisha Aslan and Richard Marin, as we learn more about the suspect's reported mental health struggles. ABC News obtaining law enforcement documents that show a series of panicked text messages from a fellow Army reservist, warning their training supervisor back in September that Card posed a threat to the unit and other places and refused to get help. Months ago, Card's family already had concerns about his mental health and access to firearms, reporting their growing worry to authorities in May, according to a police incident report. Sources tell ABC Card also spent 2 weeks at a mental health facility over the summer.
We looked at what was done as it aligns with our policy. I think we need to look at it. I think we need to say, is there other ways to approach these situations?
The governor of Maine is now forming an independent commission to investigate how multiple red flags about Card and his reported mental health history were missed and to examine the police response. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
In New Jersey, several high school students are accused of sharing nude photos of their classmates generated using artificial intelligence. This is leaving many parents concerned.
My daughter texted me, "Mom, naked pictures of me are being distributed." That's it. Heading to the principal's office.
Well, these kind of altered photos are known as deepfakes. The incident happened over the summer, but was just recently brought to the attention of school administrators.
She started crying, and then she was walking in the hallways, and she's seen other girls of Westfield High School crying. Some of them victims, some of them just friends of the victims that just felt for them.
So to prevent more young girls from becoming victims, Congress is considering a bill that would make it illegal to share non-consensual deepfake images online.
The Supreme Court has agreed to consider a federal ban on bump stocks. Bump stocks are devices that allow semi-automatic rifles to be fired more rapidly. Federal appeals courts have been split on whether a federal ban on bump stocks is legal, prompting President Biden to petition the Supreme Court to consider the ruling. At issue is whether bump stocks should be classified as machine guns under the National Firearms Act. The ATF qualified them as machine guns in 2018 and then banned bump stocks a year later. Challengers appealed that classification, though, saying the ATF lacked the authority to issue the ban, and bump stocks should not be classified as machine guns anyways. All right, we have much more coming up tonight on 6:30, including going for a ride on the Air 4 drone in this week's Air 4 Adventure.
Plus, the wait list for low-income housing. We'll take a look at some of the issues amplifying our housing crisis.
Download the KXLY Plus app for live updates all day.
The most important issue in this mayor's race? Crime and public safety. I'm Nadine Woodward. We cannot let Spokane become Seattle. It's why I increased police patrols, opened new precincts, and got dangerous offenders off the streets with our Violent Crimes Task Force. My opponent? She's helped fund criminals and is supported by anti-police activists. I'm proud to be endorsed by law enforcement. I'm Nadine Woodward, and I approve this message. Let's make crime illegal again.
5 stars. All rise for To Kill a Mockingbird. Unmissable and unforgettable. A mockingbird for our moment. Beautiful, elegiac, satisfying, even exhilarating. A New York Times Critics Pick. Mockingbird is now the most successful American play in Broadway history. All rise for Aaron Sorkin's great play. Richard Thomas is Atticus Finch in Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird.
December 5th through 10th at First Interstate Center for the Arts. Tickets at BroadwaySpokane.com.
You know, there's millions of people without the health insurance they need. I get it. You feel like it's too pricey, a headache to deal with, and not worth it. You deserve something better and better. We're on a mission to get everyone high-quality health insurance. We have plans with as low as $0 out-of-pocket premiums, a network of local doctors, and a rewards program for making healthy choices. Nice. That's why we're America's #1 marketplace health insurance. So call us or go online now. And Better Health. On a mission for better.
There is a place where magic seems to hide around every corner, where cherished memories are born in twinkling snowflakes, where enchanting adventures await all who explore. Where is this real-life winter wonderland? Nestled by the lake is Coeur d'Alene's Holiday Light Show, an experience you will never forget. Discover Santa's all-new North Pole with holiday getaways starting at only $250.
Live from downtown Spokane, this is 4 News Now at 6:30.
Well, playoffs are now in full swing for high school football teams across the inland Northwest.
It's blanket season, so we used to have kind of like a picnic blanket in our backseat, but now it's the full winter blanket in the trunk. You gotta have it if you're a parent in the stands.
Heated vest.
You bring out all the warm stuff.
That is the way to stay warm in the stands. They are staying dry tonight, though. We have had tremendous luck with Friday night football, and our sports team can tell you all about that in terms of our weather. And our temperatures actually are not too bad. 46 right now in Spokane and Coeur d'Alene. We topped out today in the 50s, so above average. Now we are going to be cooling down into the 30s by the time the final plays are happening across the region, but we are still dry. We have the clouds streaming through, made for a beautiful sunset, and just starting to see the slightest hint of a return on our radar south of Wenatchee, but that is going to change by 11 o'clock tonight. When we talk again, we're going to start talking about that precipitation on the way, because we go from 0 to 100 very, very quickly, staying dry at 10, but by 11 we have a chance of a few sprinkles, and then our odds of wet weather increase. We are talking about steady and at times heavy rain tomorrow morning across the entire region. Here's a look at our Saturday planner. We're heading up to a high of 55. 48 is our average high. You'll notice a few lightning bolts on our forecast here. There is a slight chance of thunderstorm activity in the afternoon and early evening, mainly in the higher terrain of North Idaho, but wouldn't rule out a rumble of thunder around town as well. We've got some very cold air coming aloft with this slug of moisture on the way. I will take this hour by hour for you as you plan your weekend. There are definitely some long stretches of dry weather to enjoy, and an extra hour to do it. I'll explain in just a few minutes, Derek.
All right, Chris, thank you. Tonight, the need for low-income housing continues to outpace supply. In Spokane, there is a 3-year wait list to get into low-income housing.
That waiting period is the same as it was a year ago, which begs the question, what's changed in 2023? Jordan Smith has what's amplifying the housing crisis and if there's any progress being made.
Well, Community Frameworks has 8 properties that offer housing units for low-income families. But to give you some perspective on that wait list, at any point in the year, they have maybe 100 to 200 people waiting to get into maybe 12 available housing units.
And as affordable housing developers, we can't keep up with the demand. There's not enough funding.
Deb Elzinga painted a bleak, realistic picture of affordable housing for low-income families. We showed you the story 1 year ago, where the wait list for low-income housing was 3 years. Today, little progress has been made on cutting down that line.
Unfortunately, it has not gotten any better.
The people in need of this housing expands beyond those facing homelessness. They're people you might see in everyday life.
So people who work at gas stations, or people who are nurses' aides or teachers' aides, people who don't have enough income to support market rate rent.
Demand for housing continues to outpace supply in Spokane. The average 2-bedroom apartment is about $1,300. But many in Spokane earn below average pay, and rent payments eat into more than half of their income. Elzinga says many families are faced with difficult decisions.
We know families are doubling and tripling up. So we have, multi-generational families that are living in one house because they can't afford to rent a house on their own, or let alone buy a house.
As it stands today, there are roughly 7,000 low-income housing units in Spokane. That number has to double in order to meet the demand for low-income housing. And until those options are online, this crisis will only continue to persist. Jordan Smith, 4 News Now.
Well, the housing crisis is a nationwide issue, with each market having its own unique issues.
Yeah, that's why we recently did a deep dive into what some of the biggest issues are here in Washington and Idaho, and what's being done to fix it. You can watch our half-hour special on the Inland Northwest housing crisis right now on your connected TV with the KXLY Plus app.
Chocolate milk could soon no longer be available in Central Valley schools, and that is because there's a carton shortage. The school district says it will only offer white milk to students. If the supplier doesn't have enough milk cartons for all grade levels, older students will be served milk in a glass.
Another section of the North-South Freeway will be opening later this month, starting on November 16th. You'll be able to drive on 395 all the way down to Wellesley instead of just Francis.
We have 3 significant projects that we have left to design to get the project completed, and we are scheduled to have those designs complete and those projects out for advertisement in 2024. So there's a huge slate of work still coming in order to complete this facility and get us connected to Interstate 90.
That full project is expected to be completed by 2030. I know Spokane, so many people think it'll never happen. It's going to happen. It's just going to take some more time. All right, there are thousands of fitness accounts on social media, and often they're encouraging people to make healthier lifestyle choices.
They could also have a negative impact on your child's body image. Researchers at Washington State University say they found there's one thing that could counter that negative impact. KOMO's Tyra Majors has the details.
These days, everyone is clicking and scrolling. Some of the most followed pages are fitness influencers, and while they want to inspire good physical health, their social media posts often inspire negative mental health. It's almost impossible to avoid them.
Fitness influencers are really popular on social media, especially among young women. They tend to follow them to look for information and advice and just things that they can get inspired by.
Researchers from WSU found that if fitness influencers use a few words of body appreciation in their post captions or an on-screen text, some of the negative mental health impacts that come with following these pages could be mitigated.
But it's really this messaging that people should appreciate the body that they have for the things that it can do. And what we found is it's really a powerful kind of piece that's small and not always included in their messaging, but when it is, it can be a powerful component.
To get to that conclusion, researchers had 200 college-age women view different sets of Instagram posts from real fitness influencers with millions of followers. They viewed posts with and without positive messaging.
What we found was it did have an impact on their self-compassion, so kind of whether they're being kind to themselves, their own state body appreciation, which is how they're feeling about their own bodies in the moment.
This study comes at a time where social media and mental health are at the forefront. Meta's Instagram and Facebook being sued by more than 36 states, including Washington, for its features' negative and addictive effects on young people.
These and other features are intentionally designed to incessantly monopolize the time and attention of kids using Instagram and Facebook. They tap into their so-called fear of missing out.
Researchers of the study hope influencers will start incorporating positive messaging such as love your body in future posts. Their advice to consumers: limit the amount of time you spend on social media. Tyra Majors, KOMO News.
Well, WSU Cougars are looking to get back on track this weekend after their 4-game losing streak. Coming up, Alex Crescenti has more on how the team is approaching their matchup against Stanford.
Download the KXLY Plus app for weather every 10 minutes.
4 News Now is brought to you by Parker Toyota.
The all-new Bet Ahead feature is now live at Caesars Sportsbook, located inside Spokane Tribe Casino. Make your picks online from anywhere before you place your cash bets. Only at Spokane Tribe Casino. You just win here.
Did you just buy a new home and don't have a lot of extra cash on hand for furniture? Or are you upsizing your home and need to fill it? Consign Furniture in Liberty Lake can help by saving you thousands on decorating your home. With over 60,000 square feet of inventory, we have a variety of unique, budget-friendly items that will add value while saving you a ton of money. And the best part? You don't have to overspend. Buy here and save up to 70% off retail with countless designer name brand options to choose from. Consign Furniture, the smart way to buy, easy way to sell.
Spokane's homeless plan is not working. In the last 6 years, Spokane's homeless rate has nearly doubled, while the U.S. rate barely increased. And while many unhoused persons genuinely need a helping hand, others have accelerated Spokane's problems of crime and open drug use. Similar-sized U.S. cities don't have these problems, but Spokane became home to the largest homeless camp in the state of Washington. Why Spokane? Hear the answer at curingspokane.com.
We love our house, but lately we've been feeling a little cramped.
So we talked to ICCU about a new home loan. The process was super quick, and we got a really great rate.
We start house hunting tomorrow.
Preferably something with a bigger garage.
The all-new Bet Ahead feature is now live at Caesars Sportsbook, located inside Spokane Tribe Casino. Make your picks online from anywhere before you place your cash bets. Only at Spokane Tribe Casino. You just win here.
Next, E.T. Only we could take you to the set of Kurt and Wyatt Russell's father-son collab.
My son, Wyatt, and I, we're playing the same person.
Plus, our Shaka Khan exclusive.
Next, E.T.
Watch 4 News Now at 6 and Entertainment Tonight at 7:30.
Every Friday in the tank.
15 years, never seen anything like this.
New dreams come true.
I'm trying to build a legacy for my family. That's the beauty of Shark Tank.
I didn't know I was going to cry right now.
I believe in you.
Shark Tank, new tonight on ABC.
Hey, can you say that with me? There was noise! Oh my gosh, you guys are just as loud as the Who's.
At least they weren't all saying jury duty, jury duty, jury duty. Today, Logan Elementary School students got a close look with the mean one himself, Mr. Grinch. He decided to make a pit stop to prepare for his show, Grinch the Musical. The Broadway show comes to First Interstate Center starting November 10th. I would love to go see that.
He didn't seem like he was being too mean there at all.
No, they're going to want to be him instead of Santa. Well, speaking of the holidays, permits will soon be available in Washington to cut down your own Christmas tree in the Colville National Forest.
They go on sale on the 10th. That's next Friday. It'll cost you between $5 and $7.50, depending on if you buy it in person or online. For more information, just head to our website, KXLY.com.
Speaking of Grinch, I know Derek has an artificial tree. I do too. So we're missing out on the allergies, though. They get dusty. My kid couldn't deal with the pollen in the house. It's my excuse. 4 things to know about your weather. We have rain coming in around midnight, steady rains for most of the day on Saturday with the possibility of some thunderstorms. Good time to have that 4 News Now First Alert weather app downloaded because it will tell you right away if there's a thunderstorm coming in anywhere in your vicinity. If you are away from your computer and KXLY Plus, a few showers on Sunday. Let's talk about football games. If you are going to be attending the Cougar game, kickoff at 6 p.m., Your tailgating is going to be on the damp side. However, right now it looks like you might start to dry out just in time for the game. Eastern is looking more likely like you're going to be dealing with the rain for most of that game. Temperatures, however, will be fairly warm. We'll be in the lower 50s. That's above average. We wake up Saturday morning at 7 a.m. Some of you may be up at 7 a.m. with steady rain throughout the entire region. That's going to pick up in intensity in the afternoon. Here's 1 o'clock Saturday with some heavy rain down on the Palouse, up through the central panhandle, those darker greens, yellows, and oranges. I do have this set on its most sensitive setting, so it's showing the precipitation coming down fairly heavily. As we go into 6 o'clock, that's when the game gets underway down on the Palouse. We have a drying trend, most of that wet weather moving off to the east, other than a few hit and miss showers. By the time we're into Sunday morning, we're dry across the entire region, socked in with the fog around Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, and up through North Idaho. As we go through the day on Sunday, we're going to be dry for most of the day, may even see some sunshine, and then more rain begins moving in late Sunday, and we have a wet work week. Forecast rainfall totals through Saturday evening are going to be impressive, very similar to what we saw with the rain that came through yesterday. And then as we are into Sunday, just adding a tiny little bit to those totals, a couple of hundredths in most locations before the wet weather moves in Monday into Tuesday. A drying trend then as we get toward next weekend and beyond. 8 to 14 day is now having us sandwiched in between above average and below average precipitation, with above average temperatures continuing. Election day, rain, and then we begin to dry out as we head toward next weekend. Saturday night, remember to set your clocks back. We're leaving daylight saving time. Derek?
All right, Chris, thank you. Tonight, we soar high over the McKenzie Conservation Area in Newman Lake.
The area includes upland evergreen forests as well as wetlands and 2 streams and springs. Let's head out there with this week's Air for Adventure.
We're at the McKenzie Reserve by Newman Lake.
It's a big enough tract that you can get into the woods, and it's quiet back in here. And you also get a bunch of little ecosystems. On the south side, sunny side, you got the ponderosa pine, and then in the shady sides, you've got the Doug fir, and you've got some cedar in there. And then down by the lake, you got some cottonwood trees and some open meadows. So it's really a nice piece of property with all different kinds of terrain in there. It's great. In the winter, it's a good trail for cross-country skiing, miles of trail. But the other times of the year, the horses, there's enough room here to have horses in here. And it's just a great variety of walks here.
And you can get down to see the lake, and that's nice.
You can also, we access it from the water and come around from Lake Newman and then come around into it that way. So it's nice.
You get up there on the walk and get a good view of the lake and watch the birds. There's eagles out here nesting.
Yeah, and there's osprey, a bunch of wild ducks. And that if you're out on the lake, it looks kind of like a turtle basking in the sun. Rock that's been sculpted when the lake was higher. There's several old beach lines, so it's got it's kind of been undercut, and it's a large rock, but it's as big as a house.
Being out in nature, just being out.
Yeah, you get to slow down, and there all you hear is the whining of your dog.
Here's a look at ABC's primetime lineup tonight.
All started with this sudden arrival of a baby. It was days before they actually discovered the 2 bodies.
I'm getting chills. How can a child be missing for 40 years?
Baby Holly for the first time. Holly, it's great to finally meet you. 2020, tonight on ABC.
Download the KXLY Plus app for breaking news.
The tradition continues. BECU presents Beanie Night when WSU takes on Stanford November 4th. Attend the game and check out BECU's new beanie creation, free for all Coug fans. WSU battles Stanford and BECU Beanie Night November 4th in Pullman.
We aren't just HVAC specialists. We're a Lennox Premier dealer. That means we offer the most energy-efficient products on the market with savings you can see and perfect air you can feel. Your comfort is our passion, and we're with you every breath of the way. Enjoy greater comfort and lower energy costs. Call us today and save on Lennox with special incentives and rebates.
Call Norco Heating and Air today.
Betsy Wilkerson doesn't just talk about strengthening community safety, she spent her career doing it. During her tenure on City Council, Betsy Wilkerson increased funding for our police and firefighters every single year. Betsy voted to prevent open drug use in our streets while increasing mental health resources. And Betsy secured funding for our Spokane Police and Fire Academies to invest in top-notch training. So don't believe the lies and attacks. Betsy Wilkerson's record of strengthening community safety is clear.
I'm Betsy Wilkerson, and I'd be honored to have your vote.
So you want somewhere to play? We got you. A nice relaxing stay? We got you. Wanna be entertained? We got you. Wanna play golf all day? We got you. Go to Lake Casino. The winning is just the beginning. So you're looking for something to do? We got you. Want some tasty food? We got you. Heard you wanna do some shopping? We got you. The live music is always popping at the Go to Lake Casino. At the Go to Lake Casino. Go to Lake Casino. The winning is just the beginning.
My mom.
My son. My brother.
I needed
Mental health care.
and job training.
Gun violence prevention.
Substance use treatment. Not more jail cells.
Not more jail cells.
Spokane County Measure 1 increases our sales tax by $1.7 billion.
Giving politicians a blank check to fund a massive new jail we don't need.
And won't make Spokane safer.
Let's invest in solutions that help families and improve safety.
Join neighbors across Spokane.
Vote no on Measure 1.
The tradition continues. BECU presents Beanie Night when WSU takes on Stanford November 4th. Attend the game and check out BECU's new beanie creation, free for all Coug fans. WSU battles Stanford and BECU Beanie Night November 4th in Pullman.
Download the KXLY Plus app on your connected TV.
Monster Truck fans, are you ready? Monster Jam is at the Spokane Arena, and the action starts, in about 10 minutes, I think. You can check out the Gravedigger, the rest of your favorites, all starting, yes, at 7 o'clock. This year's Monster Jam will feature 4 major events with 4 different competitions. World champion drivers and their 12,000-pound monster trucks will battle it out, showing off their speed and skill. 8 drivers will be competing for the event championship. We talked to Ashley Sanford, who will be driving one of the fan favorites, the Megalodon.
Each time we're in the trucks, we're going to give it our all. We're going to bring everything we can, especially once the fans bring the energy too. It becomes contagious.
The fans will be able to catch a special competition preview at the Monster Jam trackside, which starts about an hour before each show. You can also purchase tickets to the exclusive Monster Jam pit party, where you can see the massive trucks up close and meet your drivers. We have details on how you can get your tickets in this story on KXLY.com. All right, we are quickly approaching the end of the high school football season here in the Inland Northwest.
Yeah, many of our local teams starting playoffs now, and the list of remaining teams is going to be shrinking every single day. Our sports team has you covered every step of the way. Alex Crescenti is live at Union Stadium, where someone's season is going to come to an end this evening.
Yeah, that's right. We got some 1A action out at Union Stadium this evening. Chelan taking on Lakeside. Currently, the Eagles lead 21-0 early in the second quarter. This is a Lakeside team that's pretty good. 8-0 coming into this matchup, looking for that perfect season, ranked 4th in the state by the WIAA. So they have some high hopes as we enter the postseason of the high school football season. And like I said, every week we're going to start losing some of the local teams, so we're really coming down to it. But this is just the start of a big football weekend in our region. Of course, over in Pullman, the Washington State Cougars, well, they got all kinds of issues. They're facing what can only be described as a must-win scenario. After starting the season 4-0, the Cougars have dropped their last 4 games and still need 2 wins to get to bowl eligibility. Now, the story as of late has been the defense, or their lack of. Wazoo has given up 40 points per game over the last 3 weeks, and head coach Jake Dickert knows that's got to change.
we can beat anybody if we don't beat ourselves. And there's been a series of things throughout the course of these games that we haven't executed on our end to go out there and win. And, whether it's UCLA, we're getting some of the stops and takeaways and not scoring, or obviously the last 3 weeks haven't been getting the stops, right? So there's a balanced attack to winning football games, and I think that's very important.
Now, kickoff against the Cardinal is set for 6 p.m. Make sure to follow along with Julian Minnesone. He'll have you covered from Pullman. Now, meanwhile, the Idaho Vandals are going to be looking to avoid a letdown game this weekend after a huge win against Montana State last Saturday. That propelled them to number 3 in the latest FCS polls. With 3 weeks to go in the regular season, it looks like they're going to get a bye and could host games throughout the playoffs there. Of course, you can't avoid Weber State and then Idaho State to end the season. They'll kick off against Northern Colorado, though, tomorrow from Greeley. The remaining opponents for Idaho are just 6-15. And while we're coming to the end of the football season, that means college basketball is starting to rev up. Currently, the Gonzaga Bulldogs are taking on the LC State Warriors inside the kennel this evening. Just an exhibition, so none of it counts. Of course, this season is about to get a whole lot tougher for Gonzaga. It's a bit of a transition period for them. A lot of their familiar faces are now gone, including All-American Drew Timme. So a lot to be determined here. They got Yale next Friday, and then the real test begins. They're going to go out to Maui, and where they're going to face all kinds of real stiff competition, tournament teams there. We're going to find out who they are pretty early on in this season. But, of course, make sure to follow along on Nightside. We'll have more from that Gonzaga matchup, as well as the games out here. We got Lakeside Chelan. Don't miss the highlights on Friday Night Sports Extra. It's going to be one of the final Friday Night Sports Extras of the season, if you can believe it. It's almost to the end. 4 News Now. We'll be right back.
It all started with this sudden arrival of a baby. It was days before they actually discovered the 2 bodies.
I'm getting chills. How can a child be missing for 40 years?
Baby Holly for the first time. Holly, it's great to finally meet you.
2020, tonight on ABC. Download the KXLY Plus app for live updates all day.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
At your locally owned Ace, we've got exactly what you need, exactly when you need it, even if you don't know exactly what it's called.
A thingamajig. A whatchamacallit. A doohickey.
Thingamabob.
A doodad.
Ace has a huge selection of nuts, bolts, plumbing, and electrical supplies in stock. And at Ace, our experts ask just the right questions to make sure you leave with exactly what you need. Whether it's a whatchamacallit or a thingamajig, come see us today.
When there's an emergency, citizens of Spokane wonder, will help get here in time? Drastic shortages in police officers and firefighters have set overtime costs skyrocketing and put our community at risk.
I'm Kitty Klitsky. I strongly support public safety. Let's hire more police officers and firefighters to cut these overtime costs and improve response times.
Vote Kitty Klitsky for City Council, endorsed by Firefighters Local 29.
Kylie and I know there's a lot of great choices for new and pre-owned cars in North Idaho.
And we want Parker Subaru to be your first choice.
Because Parker Subaru has won the coveted Subaru Love Promise Customer Commitment Award every year since we began in 2012.
Not only do we have a great selection of Subarus, we have an award-winning service center.
Because we are committed to keeping you satisfied long after the purchase.
Visit us online at parkersubaru.com or stop by and visit us at Parker Subaru in beautiful Coeur d'Alene.
You're feeding it.
I will, I promise. Thanks to our Premier Rewards Visa credit card from ICCU, we earned enough cash back to stock up on puppy supplies.
But we don't have a puppy.
They're very convincing children.
Nadine Woodward's extreme partisanship is wrong for Spokane. Instead of helping local wildfire victims, Woodward attended a recent Christian nationalist rally with domestic terrorist and disgraced radical Republican Matt Shea, even receiving his endorsement. Faith leaders and the city council denounced Shea's bigotry, calls for violence, and radical nationalism. But Nadine Woodward, she lied about knowing he would be there. She was hoping no one would notice her radical politics. We noticed Mayor Woodward, and we deserve better.
All month, we will surprise you.
Weekdays at 2, only on 4 News Now.
Plan on some rain overnight into at least the first part of Saturday. We could get lucky and get some breaks in the late afternoon and evening. Most of Sunday looks dry.
That 100% chance tomorrow is making me very nervous.
Oh, yes.
I'm glad you've explained it many times. So.
Yes, it will be raining at your house tomorrow morning.
Okay. Be ready for it, and we'll see you back here at 11 o'clock tonight for Night Set.